Our coverage begins right now with Allie Reed. She's live for us in New Orleans. And Allie, we heard that you've seen runners going out and about. And of course, while running is good for physical fitness, it is also huge for mental health. So I don't know if people just maybe stressed with the storm and just kind of wanted to get out, get some fresh air, for lack of a better word, because we know it's humid outside.
Well, absolutely. You know what? And we have seen now that the sun has come up, many people running, jogging, walking, taking in the sights over the next couple of hours before the rain comes in. How you hanging in? Just enjoying the morning? We're live on the AccuWeather Network. Just walking, enjoying New Orleans right now?
Yeah. I wanted to see the sun come up with all the storm coming in.
Yeah, it's been rather quiet this morning, but there's been some walkers, some runners this morning. Have you seen that yourself?
Yeah, I've seen a couple. I think we know to get it in while we can.
Yeah. Well, landfall is going to be not until later on this evening. Are you planning on hunkering down yourself, just staying as safe and prepared as possible?
Super hunkered down. Yep, just staying safe.
What's your name?
Breland,
so nice to meet you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. We know that this could potentially bring some pretty strong wind and rain later on this evening. So hunker down.
Yes.
Enjoy the city while you can. It was so nice to meet you.
Thank you.
So we heard from Breland. She is one of those people that is out enjoying the morning. It's a little muggy out, but we've got the breeze at times. For the most part, though, the weather has been rather enjoyable this morning ahead of Francine. Now, yesterday, as we were roving about the area, we made our way to LaPlace, Louisiana. We've been showing you this video throughout yesterday and this morning. But people outside of this city are taking this very seriously. They understand the devastation that these types of storms can bring, like Isaac back in 2012 and Ida in 2021. Some people talking to me about what those experiences were like, having to rebuild their homes. So they were out putting sand in bags, putting those into cars to bring back home, many of them leaning on each other in the community as they prepare ahead of landfall later on this evening. But for the most part, I will say there has been an overwhelming sense of calm here in New Orleans, especially here in the French Quarter. Again, many people taking in the sights this morning. I want to show you one more thing before we toss it back. Look at the water here. This is the Mississippi River. It is eerily calm, guys. Look at this. We need like a moment of silence. No rain, no strong winds, just the beautiful Mississippi River. Take it in.
Allie, one thing, if you talk to city officials, we are expecting very strong winds. Are city's officials ready for power outages around New Orleans later today?
They are. You know, I will say that roving about this area, there are city officials on every other block. They are taking this seriously. Again, we know and they know what types of storms that have come through this area, and so they are well prepared in advance for something like this. What I found just incredible is that, again, leading up 24, 48 hours in advance, again, you had those sandbagging stations, but not only that, again, we talked about it in the last hour, they have homeless shelters readily available too for those that need to seek shelter. So they have thought about every little scenario here for people that are not only here in the city, but outside of the city as well. They are ready for this storm. It is pretty evident for me to see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Louisiana has had a fair share of practice here year and year when it comes to the hurricane season. Allie Reed, we appreciate you being alive outside. We also appreciate your extroverted personality to just grab Breland and just bring her onto TV. So it gives us an idea of folks out and about, and no one can do it just like Allie.
Robert Chumley says he's taking no chances. And when it comes to storm preps, his wife, he says, made sure it was done.
She wanted to make sure we were ready. So we bought it last night and I come to pick it up this morning.
A new generator from the store to keep the power on at his home.
We lost power during Beryl, and we had a generator. It ran for one whole day and then it bent 2 push rods, so it went out. So we still lost everything in the refrigerator and freezer. So this time we're going to buy another one and see what happens.
The wait and see as Francine makes a turn towards Louisiana. Swells from the storm reaching the Galveston coast. Storm preparations have already been done on the island.
We've got our maintenance crews have been just awesome, and they got all our towers off the beach already. They've also got all the trash cans off the beach and the portalets and some of the little, like the toy box, exchange boxes here, like anything that could be damaged or could hurt somebody else.
The advice, stay off the beach if you can.
We would really discourage anyone from swimming, anyone from really going on the sand. If you want to see storm waves, do it from the top of the seawall where it's safe. And then as the conditions get worse, just seek shelter and make sure that you're not caught.
And just in case conditions turn.
It's not my first rodeo. I wished it was my last, but I know it ain't.
And it's just precaution, just to be safe. Better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry.
Francine is now moving through the Gulf towards Louisiana, and the American Red Cross is moving too and getting in place ahead of the storm. American Red Cross spokesperson Stephanie Fox joins us again from Baton Rouge. Stephanie, last time we were talking to you, we were dealing with big impacts from Debbie, and you guys are on the move now, helping those folks along the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, we certainly are. We have been mobilizing over the last several days, be that workforce and supplies. Ahead of me, I can see a handful of 18-wheelers that are stocked to the brim with food, as well as shelf-stable meals, snacks, cots, cleanup kits, things that folks need in the immediate aftermath of an impact from a disaster, like what we're going to be expecting to see from Francine. We've also been ensuring we're in close contact with our local officials to understand what the needs of the communities are ahead of the disaster, what it's going to be while the storm is making impact, and how things are going to look in the aftermath.
And every storm is different, we know that. So what is the Red Cross most concerned about with this storm's potential?
We really, really want to ensure that folks are taking the threat of this storm seriously, that whether it's considered a tropical storm, a Cat 1, a Cat 2, the hazards are going to be the same, and they're going to be significant depending on where you are in the impact area. So please do not travel later today. Once the tropical storm force winds do reach your area, stay hunkered down, listen to local officials. There are many parishes that have already issued mandatory evacuation orders. Some have offered for folks to leave if they feel a bit more comfortable, but please listen to local officials and ensure that you are following and heeding their directions.
All right, let's look ahead. How is the Red Cross planning after landfall and then for tonight and even the days to come?
So just like everyone else, the Red Cross will be hunkering down when the worst of the weather does start to impact the region. As soon as it is safe to do so, we're going to be out in communities assessing damage, providing shelter, providing meals, coordinating with those local officials to determine where are the hardest hit areas and where are folks going to need us most and what are those needs going to be. We understand that when we're looking at the impacts of something like a hurricane, there's going to be water, there's going to be wind, there's going to be flooding. So we want to make sure that we are prepared to respond to all of those hazards, no matter where they will be, from the coast all the way up into adjoining states as well, not just here in Louisiana, but Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, as we look at the long-term forecast for this tropical system. So the Red Cross will be here for as long as it takes. We were here long before, and we'll be here long after.
Oh, behind you in the warehouse, we see all of the supplies. So people may be wondering how they can help the American Red Cross. Who needs the assistance?
What I can ask folks to do right now is actually to manage and create their own emergency preparedness plans. This month is National Preparedness Month. So before a storm hits is the absolute best time for folks to get involved, to ensure that they have their emergency kits, they have their communication plans, they are assessing what those specific needs are going to be for their individual households. Do you have pets? Do you have folks with mobility or access issues? Do you have elderly folks in your home? What are the needs of your family going to be? And then, of course, consider volunteering for the Red Cross. There are so many opportunities to get involved, whether you're deploying to longer, larger events like this, or you are staying in your own home community. There's so many different ways to get involved.
Stephanie Fox with the American Red Cross. Thanks again for joining us.
This city is taking this storm very seriously.
They continue to project higher storm surge and stronger winds as it gets closer to shore.
We have to be well prepared.
We have to keep up to date with everything that's going on around us weather-wise. During the storm and after the storm, we want you to stay put.
We want people to stay inside.
We are prepared and we're resilient.
This can be intensifying all the way as it gets to the coast.
by adhering to those warnings, then guess what? You end up saving lives as well.
We're just trying to be prepared as possible, so we know the devastation that it brings.
I'm going to stay safe.
Evacuation orders are in effect for people to leave their homes here along the Louisiana Gulf Coast.
We do not want people to get to wait to the last minute.
If you do choose to stay at home, it could put yourself at risk as well as our responders. It puts everybody in danger.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jeff Cornish, and we continue to track now Hurricane Francine. If you tuned in just around 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, we told you that Francine became officially a hurricane with the new official 8 o'clock numbers coming in a little earlier. 7 o'clock Central numbers confirming it. We do have Francine as a Category 1 hurricane now, moving to the northeast, and we're expecting to see this continue to strengthen into a Category 2 storm right around the time of landfall within 24 hours, around 6 p.m. Wednesday. So big impacts coming. And we're very concerned about what this will be doing in Louisiana with heavy rain, significant dangerous storm surge, wind, and other hazards as well. We also have team coverage with Francine with crews all along the Gulf Coast. We'll continue to bring you live reports as millions prepare and right through the week as the storm makes landfall and through more of the central U.S. We'll see additional rain Thursday and Friday.
Tropical cyclone Francine is expected to make landfall on the Louisiana coast Wednesday afternoon. Hurricane warnings are in place, storm surge warnings are in place, and residents along the Louisiana coast are making preparations, getting food and water and ice, gassing up vehicles and filling up gas tanks for generators, and ensuring that batteries are charged and cell phones are charged, as we are expecting hurricane force winds to knock out power in the path of the hurricane. Additionally, there will be problems with storm surge and flash flooding from the torrential rains that fall around the hurricane. I will be tracking the storm here over the next couple of days. You can catch me live here on the AccuWeather network. For AccuWeather, I am Aaron J. Jack reporting from New Iberia, Louisiana.
Traffic already is at a standstill in Louisiana's capital city, even though Francine is still hundreds of miles offshore. Most don't want to run out of food and water, but Kate Ledoux, she says she's not worried. She went through Katrina, Ida, and many other storms, but they don't worry her anymore. And get this, she's from Indianapolis.
My husband puts everything away.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what about the preps? I mean, like you get water and all that stuff?
I do not do that.
Really?
No. He does that. And I always think he's crazy because I'm like, how long can the lights be out? Really?
Well, how long were they out for Ida?
Ida, they were out for 2 weeks. But the grocery store was open after a day or two, so.
And this is exactly what Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry is afraid of, especially along the coast. He's afraid hurricane fatigue, of people not wanting to evacuate because they don't want to fight the traffic, puts others in danger.
We do not want people to get to wait to the last minute, to get on the road, to run out of fuel. We don't want long lines at the gas stations, and it is important that people adhere to the warnings that their local officials put out. By adhering to those warnings, then guess what? You end up saving lives as well.
For AccuWeather, I'm Leo Honeycutt in Baton Rouge.
So Entergy Louisiana provides power to more than 1 million customers in the state. And as Francine strengthens in the Gulf this evening, let's check in with Michael Considine, and he is VP for Power Delivery Operations. It's an important role there for Entergy, especially in times like these. So we appreciate you making time for us here, as I know it's going to be a busy stretch.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you. And how are your Entergy teams preparing for Francine?
Well, Jeff, we've been actually preparing for several days now. We've been monitoring the weather, obviously, and watching the pattern come together. We've been mobilizing crews and preparing by setting up staging sites, temporary lodging facilities where we see the heaviest hit areas. We've actually acquired about 4,700 resources that are entering the state of Louisiana and Mississippi, where we see the path of the storm. We've been staging materials in place, and we've actually been out actively trimming trees in the path of the storm. The state of Mississippi and the state of Louisiana have been suffering from drought conditions the last couple of years, so we anticipate that the the wind speeds and things are going to create some vegetation problems for us. So we're trying to get ahead of that by going out and trimming, primary critical circuits for our customers and to prevent some of these outages that we would otherwise anticipate from the winds that we're going to see.
And Michael, you guys have had a lot of experience with hurricanes making landfall over the past 6 years, especially 2019 to 2021. It was just way too busy there in Louisiana. Every part of the country is different. What are some of the unique challenges in Louisiana for the power grid?
Yeah, well, I just mentioned one for sure. And obviously with this, every storm's different. With this event, we're obviously worried about coastal flooding. The amount of rainfall that we anticipate with this event is going to be a challenge for sure. Each storm is different, and unfortunately we have a lot of experience with these storms, so we are certainly prepared to respond as quickly and safely as we can for our customers. This is what we're here to do. We've got the right resources in place to do so as quickly as we can. We'll get out immediately when it's safe to do so and do damage assessments, and then restore power as quickly as we can for our customers. We know their lives depend on us doing our jobs quickly and safely, and that's what we're here to do.
And you kind of hinted...
We'll do that just like we have in the past.
And you kind of hinted at when it is safe to do so. So that's going to be a tough moment trying to determine when it is safe enough to get back out on the backside of a storm to attack the issues. So what are some of the biggest hazards that you continue to face? And at what point do you make the decision and say, all right, the winds are low enough that we can get back out there?
Yeah. And good question. I mean, the first thing we do is damage assessment, and as we do that, we start that. It's not necessarily a restoration effort. That is determining what the damages are. So you might not immediately see bucket trucks in the area. We're out scouting and determining what the issues are so that we can get the proper material in place. But certainly wind speeds can prohibit us from elevating the buckets into the air. So we need the wind speeds to die down, generally about 25 miles an hour. Would prevent anything above that would prevent us from putting the buckets in the air for the safety of the line workers. But with this forecast, we see that happening pretty quickly, that the winds die down. That's a good thing. So we should be able to start restoration pretty quickly.
We wish you
and hopefully we don't see the winds from this forecast, as y'all know, given what you're doing tracking the storm. We don't see the high winds too far inland. So that's a good thing.
That is a very good thing. Well, we appreciate all that you're doing, and we wish you the best, as this is going to be another big storm to tackle in Louisiana. Michael Considine, VP for Power Delivery Operations for Entergy in Louisiana. Thanks again, Michael.
Thank you.
All right. Our Allie Reed has made her way down into Louisiana. And Allie, how is the region preparing ahead of landfall? We're down to about 24 hours or so.
Well, Jeff, we've been here for the last couple of hours, and it is evident that this city is taking this storm very seriously. I want to start with where we are live right now. We are in one of the neighborhoods here in New Orleans. It may not look very busy right now, but what you aren't seeing behind this building here is that this is the Rosenwald Recreation Center in the city. This opened at 4 o'clock today. This is for people in the area that are seeking shelter over the next couple of days. The city has actually worked with a number of organizations in this area to make sure that there are people that have a place to stay through at least Thursday. Now, earlier today, my photographer and I, we decided to rove about the area. We made our way to LaPlace, Louisiana, about 45 minutes from where we are live right now from New Orleans. And it was there that people all throughout the area were making their way to different sandbagging locations, many of which they find the sand or the dirt, and they are putting them into bags themselves, bringing them back to their cars to bring back home. And you know what? As I was having conversations with people, they're nervous, right? They've dealt with these scenarios in the past. Isaac back in 2012, Ida back in 2021, and as they hear leading up to Francine, they're not messing around this time around. They say they want to be as prepared as possible. We spoke to a few of those people earlier. Take a listen to what they had to say.
Just making sure we have enough sandbags for the front door, the back door, anywhere for neighbors if they need some. I think we're a little worried. We have some PTSD from Hurricane Ida, Isaac, so we know that we have to be well prepared, for what's to come. We have to lean on each other to make sure that we're all okay. physically, mentally, emotionally, and this is what living in Louisiana is like. So something that we have to get used to, and something that we have to prepare for as well.
Now you hear her, she is definitely in positive spirits. Many people feeling the same way. But in other conversations we've had, many people sad, nervous, visibly upset when they're talking about these storms. They know the destruction that they can cause. And they talked about a lot of those too. The flooding, the severe damage that they can cause to their homes, and just the mental awareness that comes around it too. Them being just very distraught because of the situation. Now we bring you back live in the city of New Orleans. We're going to check in with you in the next hour as we continue to follow the situation here, speak to people in the area as to what they're doing to prepare ahead of Francine. And certainly we'll continue that coverage into tomorrow for you guys too, right here from the Big Easy.
All right. Well, we appreciate your reporting there, Allie. I know it's going to be a long road, but stay dry as best you can. And obviously, her message is very important. And again, those of you who still have electricity now, you may lose it over the next 24, 36 hours. Make sure that if you use a generator, keep it outside. Some of the recent storms that impacted Louisiana led to greater loss of life in the days and even weeks following landfall. So the fatalities in some cases didn't happen from flooding. They didn't happen from wind directly, and they didn't happen from tornadoes that will be embedded within the storm. They came from something very practical and something that you could totally avoid if you're wise about it. As states, cities, and parishes prepare for Tropical Storm Francine, relief organizations are getting ready as well. And you may be well familiar with Team Rubicon, a veteran-led humanitarian organization that helps in disasters globally. So joining us now is Art De La Cruz, CEO of Team Rubicon. Art, ahead of this storm, what are your teams doing right now?
Yeah, the reality is, as a veteran-led humanitarian organization, we've been preparing for months. We actually had a hurricane tabletop exercise in the first quarter. We have people that are trained, equipped, and mobilizing now to be positioned in the event that our services are needed. So, they're basically in their final prep and getting ready for the game.
And Art, there is a large variety of types of different disasters and severe weather events that you respond to. So how do you determine which severe weather events you want to mobilize for? Obviously, you can't respond to every little disaster out there.
Yeah, I think, ideally, you can actually find a way, hopefully, to be able to have our volunteers help in some form or fashion. But something of this scale, you prepare for what you can expect. And we know there's going to be wind. We know there's going to be flooding. We know there's going to be services that are needed to begin to put those homes back together to prevent further damage. The other thing that we're also preparing for are some of the things that you see after infrastructure gets knocked out. Access, we have route clearance teams that can be prepared to clear the roads. We have sawyers who are able to take felled trees. We can move debris, tarp roofs. And the other element that we want to think very carefully about is both for the volunteers and the clients we're helping is if infrastructure such as critical electricity is disrupted, we also have to think about heat both for the people we're serving and the people who are helping those same clients.
And Art, what types of help do you anticipate people in Francine's path will be needing?
Yeah, it's been a really, really interesting year for that entire area along the Gulf. We know that they've had saturation to include a system that's recently lingered there. So I think flooding will be a big piece of it. There will obviously be debris and storm surge. So all of those bring concerns about, homes being flooded and disrupted. And then, of course, there are trees as they move forward. The other unique thing, and we've seen this from the previous two hurricanes this year, is the storm, as you watch it track, is also going to have opportunities for our volunteers to serve, up the Mississippi Valley as this track moves forward. So it's not just about, this hurricane making landfall, it's also about its continued track moving northward. And we expect that we'll see similar problems along its path.
And Art, there's a huge scope between publicly run organizations that are government funded and then other organizations that are entirely civilian based. So how can people help your organization, and what does that look like for Team Rubicon?
Yeah, there's a million things more important than money, and they all cost money. So we would love for people to support both as volunteers but finances to fuel our mission. And again, we have a team that's ready to go into this with specialized skills and training. If they can go to trusa.org, we would love your support in either of those capacities. We know that this is a moment like it's always been, where neighbors have the opportunity to help neighbors in a time of need.
And we are all neighbors here. So thank you so much, Art De La Cruz, CEO of Team Rubicon. We appreciate all that you're doing and your administrative duties there to manage a lot of people with boots on the ground when people really need help the most.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you, Art. Well, Tropical Storm Francine is our top story and is on the move heading toward Louisiana.
Billy Nungesser is Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana and joins us now. Thank you for joining us, Billy.
Good to be with you.
Well, Billy, we appreciate you making time for us. What are your teams most concerned about with this storm?
Well, slow moving, gaining speed, just like Laura that hit Lake Charles. It got so strong, so quick, close to shore. A lot of people weren't prepared, didn't evacuate, didn't heed the warnings. Now, hopefully, everyone has heeded the warnings as they continue to project higher storm surge and stronger winds as it gets closer to shore. The problem is this storm is jockeyed to the east and is going to hit a part of Louisiana that hasn't taken a direct hit in a few years. So every year you go without a major storm, people get a little less prepared and a little less willing to leave and really prepare for the worst. And hopefully everyone has heeded the governor's warnings and is getting out of the low-lying areas where we're expecting storm surge.
And Lieutenant Governor, how has the state's long-term disaster preparedness planning? You guys have had a lot of experience over the past half a decade or so, especially back around 2020. How has that helped in planning for the current situation?
Well, the billions of dollars in levees and lock systems that have been improved and put in place surely give us a fighting chance to this size storm to keep all those floodwaters outside the levees. There are a few gaps that haven't been brought up to what we would like to see, but for the most part, we have a lot better improved, and a lot of the homes have been raised, not to the amount we need to ride out a storm that would flood a certain area, but surely the protection is a lot better than in past years. Since Katrina, there's been a lot of improvements done across all of Louisiana. We still have a long way to go before we don't have to hold our breath for a Category 2 storm like this.
And what plans are in place to mitigate the economic impact of the hurricane in the state?
Well, it's always a hit to the economy. Of course, the people in the debris removal, and it's a boost to those people going to work in that industry, unfortunately, after a storm. But obviously, business has stopped, and it costs the state money, and all the companies involved up and down the Mississippi River and all the plants all across will surely feel the economic impact of this storm shutting down for. Hopefully, we'll get through it by the end of tomorrow night and into Thursday, and we'll see things open back up, hopefully with minimal damage, so we can get back to normal quickly.
My final question for you, Lieutenant Governor. Obviously, depending on certain places geographically, some areas are easier to reach, easier to evacuate. People might be in different socioeconomic conditions than in other areas. So some of these areas that are a little more vulnerable, especially the bayous, some areas that may be near the coastline, how are you able to help them? And do you have emergency management involved with trying to reach those areas ahead of time?
Absolutely. The governor's got a great team, and each parish has a team as well. And then, of course, the Cajun Navy. Those folks are ready to go in. For the people that didn't hear the warning and get out of those low-lying areas, for anyone that stayed behind, they'll be ready to go in and make rescues. But we hope we've been through this enough. All the people in those areas prone to flooding have heaved the warning and gotten out. All the parishes along the coast have opened shelters and safe areas for people in trailers or don't feel safe in their home. So hopefully the majority of the people have gotten out, and the minimum rescue will be necessary after the storm.
And Louisiana's Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, thanks so much for your time again. We wish you the best across the whole state of Louisiana and the Gulf Coast here over the next 36 hours.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. Thank you, Billy. And well, we appreciate him making time for us. He's been on the network many times with us over the past few years, and always good insight there from the state of Louisiana. So here we are in Louisiana, and here we have Texas. And again, it's a slow-moving storm, but forward motion has been increasing slightly